and welcome to the WTF Sunderland Premier League preview podcast, which is something that when I was watching Joe Lynch and Josh Scowen scratching around in League One, I never thought I'd say ever again. So, like, if it gets worse after this point, at least we've said it. At least I've been able to get a Premier League preview show on this podcast. But we're going to be running through a little bit of kind of what we're expecting this season, make some predictions, which coincidentally will probably be wrong, a little bit like Dave's Himia will score 15 goals for Sunderland. We're still waiting for his first 2 years on, but here we are, and as you can probably imagine, I am joined by the regular rabble, quite a few people. There's only Ross missing, but I'll introduce nonetheless. Dave Lawrence, I've mentioned you already, so I'll come to you first. How are you doing? Are you alright?
Yeah, absolutely fine, mate. Proud to be probably the only member in here that has gone from League One to Championship to Premier League. I'm sure players enjoy that moment, so I'll enjoy it as a regular podder. Sorry, guys, that's me one up in years all already, so try beating that. Good luck.
You're basically Luke O'Nine in podcast form, and you look so different. Sophie, I'll introduce you next. How are you doing? You alright?
Yeah, good. I'm so looking forward to the season starting. It's starting to get to that twitchy period now where I'm thinking, oh no, it's either going to be really good or really bad, but I'm going to enjoy the ride nonetheless.
I'm living in a world where all I want to do is watch the playoffs and also look at photos of Granit Xhaka in a Sunderland shirt and like remind myself it's not AI, because it still looks like AI to me. I think someone said that the other day, and I've never like agreed with a comment more. It still looks fantastic. It still looks brilliant. But look, yeah, you're right. Absolutely buzzing to go for it. Pete, you were in Augsburg yesterday. We tried to do a podcast, but apparently you can't record things properly. So how are you doing? Are you all right?
Yeah, I'm fine, mate. A very large media organization paid an incredible amount of money to put me on what's called the Mojo course, where it's mobile journalism, using mobile phones and everything like
Mojo.
that to record things. And I need to apologize to, let's see if I can remember, Ian from the German Black Cats for giving me a really lovely interview. Ian, I'm very sorry. I promise I will attend some of your events and we'll get you on for something there. I apologize to absolutely mental German Barbara, who sat next to me and had when speaking English before I started recording, had his normal German accent is very, very, very fine, and speaks English and very understandable. And as soon as I press record to it, I love your goalkeeper. He is so strong. He is the best. And so sadly, the world has been denied the original of that, but I think I did it justice. I need to also say a massive thank you, because what we had in the podcast was all nothing but disaster, because I was there with it in Augsburg with my friend Jing Jay, who unfortunately took very ill in the sun before the match and passed out, to the point whereby we only remembered this afterwards. The referee, during his pre-match warm-up, ended up running over with water and going and getting one of the medics. So big thank you to the match referee. Massive thank you to all of the Augsburg fans for really stepping in and helping him, and the medics. He was fine. He did come back and watch the second half, and he just got the piss absolutely ripped out of him by Sunderland fans. Poor Chinese lad. He speaks really good English, but just getting absolutely butchered for like, were you overcome with emotion by seeing Granit Xhaka in a Sunderland top? Was that it, son? So it was all fairly eventful. So we're about 3 hours away from Berlin, somewhere in the great state of Thuringia, on our way back. Fantastic day out, and he survived. He lived through it, so he'll always have a tale to tell about Sunderland.
I was going to say, I wanted to say he had survived, because you said he'd come back as if he'd kind of like, he died twice.
Oh no, it was like Lazarus. No, when he went out, it was serious enough, Graham, that the match referee paused his warm-up to bring water into the stands. It was that serious. But yeah, nothing to do with JJ passing out like that. I absolutely ballsed up the recording on some stuff and had a setting. So I ballsed up a recording on some of the outside stuff we did, and then I had the settings wrong on the microphone. So when I recorded in the stadium, I just picked up interference from the PA system. So it's, it'll probably get released at some point in like a bootleg basement tapes version of the WTF Sunderland podcast, but it's certainly not seeing air as it is. Anyway, no, so to answer your question, Graham, I'm all right. Augsburg was canny.
Good, canny. Ian, I feel like it's been a while, mate. You've kind of newly joined, but then like babies have got in the way.
Yeah,
you have a child.
Yeah, I don't know how I can top Pete's story. With I was at work yesterday, so it was, and nobody nearly died, so it was pretty good. Yeah, sound, mate. It's just
No
Seemed
depth.
odd that we're less than a week away from being a Premier League stadium again, and it's just nothing feels real anymore.
It was really interesting. I was speaking to a club employee yesterday. I won't say who. I was speaking to a club employee and I was like, "Oh, what's it like?" I thought, no, like they've really upped the security measures. It's like you go into the Premier League and you've got to go into different entrances and stuff, and like all these things. He's like, it's kind of some of it's weird, but you need like passes to get anywhere near like the certain part of the tunnel and all this kind of stuff. And he's like, it's really amping up because the security's gone like a bit mad over the past few weeks. But yeah, like by the time this goes out, it'll be less than a week. Actually, it's less than a week now. Weird. It's next Saturday. Odd. Dave, I'll come back to you for the first one. Look, we've never done this. We're going to go and have some predictions, how we feel we're going to do, and all that kind of stuff. But I wanted to kind of like open the floodgates with a difficult one first, and ask, what's your unpopular Premier League opinion?
Ah,
I'm so nervous.
yeah, it's such a broad question, isn't it? Quite
Hmm.
difficult. I mean, I wish you'd told us this afternoon so we could have done a bit of prep work because we all
I
know how much
did.
I love doing. Oh, you did, I. And as
Good.
I said, I laugh in the face of preparation. Uh,
You literally said like, "Oh, I don't need preparation," and then I've come on and you've gone, "Oh, well, I wish you'd prepped us," which which I had done. But Jesus Christ.
I
Okay.
thought
well,
I
I,
was having a seizure because I thought I dreamt a message from Graham prepping us and a reply from Dave. But no, it's just old father time there having a senior.
Which I never do, by the way. I never prep anyone in this one. I thought, fair enough. If I'm going to chuck unpopular Premier League opinion as a question at you, I should probably prep you a bit. And Dave was like, don't need it. And then Dave
my
did need it.
my problem is I'm not used to Premier League. I'm used to League One now. So what is popular and what is unpopular? I guess my unpopular opinion would be, unless you're Liverpool, and that accounts for quite a bit. But I keep having a love in with Liverpool Football Club at the minute, and I'm sitting there kind of in the background having the Community Shield on. I think Liverpool might go invincible like Arsenal.
Depends
I
on if we
don't know.
get that lad that wants to not be in Eldon Square anymore, doesn't it? No, actually, yeah, no, that could be an unpopular opinion because we haven't had an Invincible for a while. What, 2003 Arsenal?
There's got to be in it at least, and they're the only ones to have done it as well, aren't they? So,
Are they?
um, yeah. And just as I say that, Liverpool have just give away a penalty, and that's
Excellent.
why it's unpopular.
Oh, well done. Fantastic. I'll give you mine. So, I don't even know, is mine that unpopular? There's always a chat about it being the best league in the world. I don't think it is. In my unpopular opinion with that is I think the two best leagues in the world to watch for like comedy value and excitement are the Scottish Premiership and other Scottish leagues because it doesn't out like it. And I think the Championship's a more exciting division to watch. It's just crap if you don't get out of it. Like, for example, I wouldn't like the Championship quite as much if we hadn't got out of it in the way we've done. But like playoffs and all that kind of stuff, brilliant. Premier League the past few years, the team who has the best players has won the league, and the teams that have the worst have gone down. I don't think that's that exciting. But Sophie, you're next in the queue. What's your unpopular Premier League opinion?
I don't know if it's unpopular, but it's that Nottingham Forest massively overachieved last season. They did. They massively
Mm.
overachieved. And I actually think they're going to be right down there in the scrap. I only think they underachieved because the league last year was so crap. Like Chelsea are going to be stronger than they were last year. City are going to be stronger, and I don't think that they've actually improved. And I think they'll be right down there. And I think their owner is a complete lunatic. I'll get banned from their stadium for saying that. Um, so I think Nuno will be gone before Christmas.
I read a thing this morning on The Guardian, which is really good. Eleanor from Wise Men Says done our column, and it was like one of the questions was first manager sacked next season, and only one person chose Nuno. And I was like, oh, I think that's quite controversial. Only have one because one person had Regis Labrise, which I disagreed with as well, but I understand the thinking behind it a bit. But yeah, I mean, the only thing that Forest have got going for them these days is that if they need one of their better players to sign a new contract, it seems like the chairman's going to hold them at knife point to make sure they
That's a
do it
funny
whilst he's
interview.
doing. It was like, why is the chairman there on the pitch whilst he's like looking, going, "Yeah, I'm really excited." And it's like,
He's like stood over them.
blink twice if you need help, mate. And if you've been held at the knife point, just smile out your left side of your face, your left side of your cheek, and we'll know. But yeah, no, yeah, I think that could be classed as maybe popular, but actually, no, I'm happy with that being unpopular, Sophie. That's fine. I'll let you have it.
So,
Pete, I'm almost more worried by yours than I am Dave's. But I'll give you the opportunity.
Well, you've gazumped me really, because my
Oh, well.
unpopular opinion was that the championship is more entertaining. What I'm going to have to it is a more entertaining league. What I guess my unpopular opinion is going to have to be, just in the build up to this season, is I am finding the modern Premier League experience quite soulless already, just as somebody who consumes me football mostly through the media, and I don't have the joy after yesterday of that feeling of going up the stairs into a stadium and seeing the pitch again. I was like, oh God, I love football. It's great, isn't it? And then obviously I'm not going to be there next week because I'll be in Germany. Sorry, that's a massive amount of M's. I'm sorry, Graham.
It's okay.
But what I find is that, like, remote fan experience, it is quite soulless. It's all very. It's all yeah. I basically, I think a lot of what my problems with it roots in is that it's not the way it was when I was a child. That's what I miss.
Not like it was 25 years ago.
Why can't it be like it was when I was young, when my knees didn't hurt, when I didn't have arthritis in my thumbs? I want the Stone Roses playing for the Coca-Cola Cup. Never mind this League Cup nonsense. I want fool's gold on my introductions. Yeah. So, and what's it called? The Lightning Seeds playing when I get scores updated for me. I think that's my unpopular opinion, is that once we found the top division, I find it obviously it's the goal and you have to be there. I find it a little soulless.
No, I don't disagree with it, really. It's kind of the only place to be for a club like ourselves because of our size. I think we're definitely within the top 20. I don't know where we place in that, but I think we're in the top 20 biggest clubs in the country, and therefore we should be in the Premier League. And based on our history, like, that's kind of historically where we've been. But yeah, there's... Like, I know at some point this season it's going to bite me on the arse, but I know at some point this season I'm going to be speaking to, like, a Man United fan from Croydon. I just know it's coming. And yeah, well, it is what it is. Ian, I feel bad giving you, like, the last option here, because maybe you've had all 5 in order of what you've chosen unpopular opinions, and we've talked them all. But maybe you've got a fresh take on unpopular Premier League opinions.
I just wrote one down there that I was going to stick with, and obviously I had a little bit of prep, which I appreciate. I've got it written down in front of me. And I got to that question, I was just like, I don't really know what a bad take would be or an unpopular one would be. But the one that I came up with was that I'm of the opinion that Victor Gyökeres won't score many goals for Arsenal next season. I think he'll get about 7.
Oh, I think it is unpopular, that.
And I think, to caveat that, I think Elijah Mayenda will outscore him next season.
I put my house on Elijah Mayenda getting 15 goals live on stage last night at the fire station.
Yeah, well, there you go. He's going to get more than double what Victor is.
The last time we predicted 15 goals on a pre-season podcast, though, Dave made an ass of himself, so... Oh, no.
Yeah, well, I didn't... You said 15, not me, so that's all right.
You know what? I that is the most unpopular, because I think Gyökeres is class, but, like, it's also feasible.
I think he's class, and I remember obviously when we played them Coventry first day of the season, and it was Ballard's debut, and those two just had an absolute ding dong for 90 minutes. And I just think I've watched a couple of the pre-season highlights and stuff, which, I mean, that reads into absolutely fuck all in the grand scheme of things because of the highlights of a pre-season game that doesn't matter. But I just got a feeling that he's just not going to be the same animal that he was. Like, and it'd be really funny to watch the Coventry fans have a meltdown about another player that doesn't play for them. So,
I see Lampard said yesterday they didn't deserve to lose. Kel surprise. Um, whilst they were playing Hull. That feels quite nice. No offense to Hull, like it could have been any team, but it feels nice to not have to do that. Look, I'll stick with you for the first one. I'll flip this round. So we've got West Ham, and like by the time this goes out, well, like I say, it's less than a week now, but it'll be like 5 days. I don't know whether or not the team that we saw yesterday is going to be the starting 11. Normally it sort of is, but I don't know. There's part of me that thinks it might not be. But you're Regis Lebris for this weekend. How would you be setting up based on the players we've got in the door at the moment? Because obviously I know players could be added to it, but based on the ones we've got in the door.
I think it's going to be pretty similar. There's obviously a few possible incomings centre half wise. I've seen the Paraguayan lad who's from Getafe who's been mentioned as and then another one from Juventus who used to play up the road I've seen rumours about, which we'll just leave it there. I mean, as far as setup goes, you'd hope that, I mean, the front three or front 4 or 5, whichever one it's going to be, they're pretty much going to be what we've seen for a lot of the games that we've been starting. It's a Graham Potter team, so you know what you're going to get with them. They're not going to. I don't think they're going to come at us with anything that we haven't seen before. They're going to try and have a lot of the ball, pass it, probably just lump the ball into the box, and then claim they dominate the game when we head everything away, which sounds familiar. It's going to be transition. I think we're going to try and hit into the transition. One that's really sort of intriguing me is obviously a Jingra against Wan-Bissaka is going to be a big one because Wan-Bissaka is generally regarded as one of the better defensive fullbacks in the league. And Adingra's he looks like he's sort of ramping up and getting better and better. He was a handful yesterday. And it's just how we handle them coming the other way. If our transition obviously breaks down, because obviously Bowen, Paqueta and Fulkrug, who's just a massive shithouse, that'll be a ding-dong with Ballard if he starts. That'll just be I'm expecting a 90-minute fight between them, basically. Which doesn't really answer your question, but I think we're just going to try and soak it up and hit them. Similar to the playoffs that we were dominated in.
It's a weird one because West Ham on paper is one where if you're going to step up, you I think it's really important that we get the first win as quick as possible because there's been a few seasons where we've had success and we beat Spurs. Like, for example, the Roy Keane era, we beat Spurs first day of the season and you went, we can compete, cool. And then the confidence kind of comes in and you knew, striker as it was at the time, won't say his name, but he scored and you go, okay, you can score goals. And then you go to Birmingham a few years later, which were the promoted team alongside us, obviously finished second in the season before, and Stern John, whilst Roy O'Donovan sat on Doyle in goal, Stern John headed home with the equaliser. Chopper scored in that game as well. I didn't mention his name, I went and done it. But you kind of went, all right, we can compete here, that's all right. Kind of like a few years ago in the Championship when we beat Bristol City away. And I felt like if it goes 3 games and we've got the games that we've got, which are West Ham, Burnley, Brentford, and we don't win, you kind of go, So you kind of want to go and attack it, but at the same time, I just think Regis will do what he likes to do, which is transition. And I am not going to argue with, it's like sometimes I disagree with things Serena Wiegmann does, and then she just wins things, and I just go, this is why I'm not a football manager. So I kind of agree. Yeah. I think we'll do that as well. But I was going to say the same to you, Pete. Pete, I'll come to you next. But I was going to say the same. But look, I think rather than asking how you'd set up, there's probably a few decisions in there to be made because ultimately we know the players that are going to play. But the big 2 are probably Enzo in the middle. Enzo, I think, is going to be playing today. You'll know this by this point. And the other game alongside Patrick Roberts and alongside Dan Neil, I think it's fair to say I don't think Dan Neil's going to start. So your choices. Siddiqui in an energetic midfield 3 or an energetic midfield 2 in Xhaka and Diarra with Enzo in his normal number 10 position. There's also an argument around the centre backs as well because we could have a centre half in by then, but do you put a centre half in straight away because he hasn't played with us, which means do you play Sealt or do you play Reynaldo and do you put say a Huggins or something at left back or something to that extent? And then you've also got the I personally think, and it's not just because I love him, there's a discussion around Talby or Roberts or Talby and someone else because Talby has looked, I think, raw, and I'm not saying that in a bad way, he has looked raw. So there's decisions to be made for Regis, but what are the big decisions for you, and how would you implement it if you were Reggie's?
I wouldn't fancy his job at the moment this week. I think
No,
it's really tough. I wouldn't fancy his job at the best of times, actually. I think it looks very strong.
no.
But I think he's got some massive tasks on his hands there. I probably are going to disagree with a few people about what I saw yesterday. I guess I'll start up front or further forward with those. I thought Talby looked lightweight yesterday. I think their left back had him on toast. He couldn't get away from him. He couldn't make space. When the ball came to him, his back was always to goal, and he couldn't get turned at any point. No way did he make. He didn't make any. He couldn't find the space away from him. The guy always knew where he would be. At Dringa. And I'm probably poisoned in my opinion because a lad I work with is a massive Brighton fan. And he said he's one of the quickest footballers you'll ever see, but his final product is woeful. And that was on display yesterday. What's more concerning about it is I quite liked Eli Mayenda's body language after missing the chances he missed yesterday and the penalty. Look, he's unhappy, but he gets on with it. He seems like he's unhappy for 3 seconds and then he moves on with it. Adringa looked really bothered about missing some of the chances he missed yesterday. And, obviously he wants to impress, but I'm a little concerned there. So what do? I think you have to start Adringa because we don't have anybody else to go in there, really. And I guess he's not going to play Enzo Lafay on the left there. I don't know how you manage the Enzo Lafay situation. That's what I'm going to put on the table first. Talby or Roberts? I think a lot of it depends on what Roberts does in the Rio Vallecano game, but based on what I saw at the Augsburg game, I would start Roberts.
We've got the lineup, by the way, just to let you know. It's quite interesting. Like, I know people know this by this point, but just for clarity, because we didn't know this at the time.
Like breaking news.
Breaking news.
Let's go.
We've got Patterson's in goal.
Yes.
There's Huggins playing at right back.
Right.
Trantis is at centre back. You've got Lavery and Harrison Jones at like centre back and left foot. But after that, it's kind of like a first team. It's Daniel Lafay and Chris Rigg, who now has curtains, by the way. Alan Brown, Roberts, and then you've got Isidore up top. So there's an argument to say a lot of the players that we weren't 100% sure would get 90 minutes in the legs before might do. So there's like Riggy's in the equation now as well because he could be back in. He can also play on the right, and I think Roberts does a lot of defensive work, but like Riggy will offer you the same as well, which is important.
I've committed a cardinal sin, and I forgot about Chris Rigg.
Well, he's been injured, mate. To be fair,
so I'm going Roberts in for Talby. If I'm honest, we'll keep. I think Diarra looks great. I loved seeing him up close. It looked brilliant. Obviously, Xhaka goes in there. Granit Xhaka. We were sat in the front row there. You could just pitch side like, and you could just hear him constantly for the whole game yesterday, like a director's commentary on the whole match, every move in the match from Granit Xhaka, and he feels like an assured presence. So, and he plays it. He sat deep, so that's Dan Neil's not getting in there. So I'm putting Granit Xhaka there. I have Diarra, and I think you go Siddiqui.
Dear.
I think you do. I think if you're Regis, you do. I think if you're me, you definitely consider the other options. But I think Regis is going to go Siddiqui.
I think he is as well.
He looked busy. He looked busy yesterday. He walked a fine line. I think he might have seen a card if it wasn't a friendly match. With his very elbows, lots of elbows as he makes a bit of space for himself. But yeah, he was. I think Regis will go with him instead of Dan Neil.
Yeah, instead of Enzo, you mean?
Oh, I beg your pardon. Instead of Enzo in there, yeah.
Well, instead of both, technically.
But but Xhaka instead of Dan Neil and Siddiqui instead of Enzo. I think he will want that. Look, I love Enzo Lafay. Enzo Lafay, I think, gives you a lot more going forward and transitioning. I think Siddiqui wins you the ball back more.
I don't know.
But we've only seen him in pre-season games. Look, I could be talking out my hoop here because we've only watched him in pre-season games. Because as you pointed out, I was and I will take the blame here as well. I was also on the side of Emir being one of the greatest strikers that had ever graced Sunderland after some of the pre-season goals I saw him score last year. So
2 years ago,
was it that? God,
2 summers.
Flies, doesn't
Time
it?
flies when you're having fun. Sophie, I'll come to you the same sort of thing before we move into like maybe our predictions, but there is questions to be had. I think the main ones are, I think it depends on who you bring in as well. But even if you do bring in like Elderete this week, do you put him straight in when he's never played with Ballard? Do you then maybe go with Ronaldo and bring in someone else at left back? The midfield's the big one. There's an argument over Talby. Like I don't think anyone's writing Talby off, but he hasn't like he looks quite raw. So there's an argument to say does Roberts come in? Does Riggy play there? There's also do you go with Mayenda? Do you go with Wilson if Wilson's getting 90 minutes in? Like there's a few conversations to have. But look, say you're on the dugout, what decisions are you making and who plays?
Yeah, I think he's got a really difficult, he's got a headache on his hands. And I think he's going to have a headache throughout the season. I really do. But, with the centre back thing, if that does come to the head and I think he goes straight in. I really do. I just think that that's the only way that kind of your connections between players are going to be made by playing them. If it's a case of he hasn't had a pre-season with us and all that kind of thing, he's still had a pre-season. He's still match fit, and the only way that, of course, things need to click fast, like you've already said about how important it is with our first couple of games that we get a win on the board as fast as possible. And if this guy's a good defender, I imagine we'll be all right. But I think in midfield, that's where don't get me wrong, the bits and pieces I've seen, I think our midfield looks incredible out of everything. I really do. I think it's slick. I think it's fast. What I've said, I'm with Pete on the Siddiqui. I just do. I'm just thinking if we're in a situation where, I don't know, it's already been said by Ian that we're not going to have the ball. We're not going to have the ball, and we need to have that bit of nastiness in the midfield where, tackles, winning 50-50s, it's going to be like that and it's going to be difficult, and we are going to have to hit people quick and fast and be kind of clinical with our chances as well. Like the penalty thing is still worrying me. Obviously, I know it's pre-season, but it's still worrying me that if we do get a penalty, are we going to miss it? And that's something that the players need to work on. But I do think that he probably will go Talby, but I think it's important that I think there's a player there, but like you've already said, Graham, about the defensive work, and our forward players are gonna have to help out. But we've seen it with Reggie before. If we need to play without the ball and we need to play a 4-4-2 and be ugly and make the game difficult, then we can do that. So I don't know. I don't know. Is the question? Is the answer to the question?
It's a difficult one. Like I think there's loads. Like I think there'll be a lot of people who have already seemingly wrote some players off. Like Roberts maybe being one of them. For me, I'd be okay with Roberts starting completely. I'm not writing Talby off in any way, shape, size, or form, but I think probably the big part of the whole conversation we're all having is that it's going to be a massive squad game, and every single one of those players are going to matter at some point this season. You talk about having a starting 11 and who gets in your starting 11, but over the season for the aims that we have, which are, let's be honest, can we finish 17th and anything else as a bonus? The whole squad's going to be needed, and Siddiqui will be needed at points. And I think Regis is so tactically astute with stuff like that. He'll know what players to use against certain games. And maybe he's gone with that team yesterday without Enzo because he thinks, I want energy against West Ham. I want to dominate as much of the ball in the middle and get that ball turned over as fast as possible. But look, we're going to more kind of like in-depth, like longer season stuff in terms of our terrible predictions. So of course I'm going to go with Dave first for this because this is where it's of course going to be where the first terrible prediction comes from. We've already gone through half an hour here, Dave, so we'll short and snappy, but make it Dave-esque because the people like it. Who's going to be our key player? Like come into the season, who's going to be the one that we go, fucking hell, he was class?
Liza Mayenda.
Ooh.
Yeah, I think I said it originally when he apparently went through his rough spell last season, that he's an athlete and he's suited to Premier League football, I think. Now, obviously, that's a really big call. He came out the middle of nowhere. He only, inverted commas, got 8 goals last season. but I genuinely think for how much people are going to press us into our own half, running in behind, I think our forward players are going to have a lot of success this year. So yeah, I'm going to go my under, I think.
I think that's fair. Like I have a lot of confidence behind. I know what you mean about him being well suited. I also think last year the pluses mainly I think people have concentrated on because there are more pluses than anything. But he had difficult moments. Like we had a chat on here in after the Blackburn game, after the Stoke game, when he missed like two sitters really. And there was a conversation like, "Are you will he be able to?" And like some of us went, "Yeah." Some of us were like, "I'm not sure." Some we all kind of said we hope so. But last season and definitely the season before didn't come without its hardships, and he's got those 2 years behind him. And I just think he's like chill. Like the man's just so chill out, and like he's so like nothing seems to phase him. He's like the coolest man on the planet. While we're all going like arse over tit when he scores at Wembley, he's just like, oh, what cool celebration could I do? And it's just like the sunglasses. I just love him. Yeah, like I've got loads of faith in Eliza Mind, and that's not changing because he hasn't scored a penalty. Because look, none of the fuckers can. If we get a pen, just give it to like Roofs or whatever he's called. I don't know. I don't care. Who cares anymore? Penalties are not my friend, and they don't matter because we can win games without penalties. You know, I'll throw that to you. I've lost the order now completely, but who do you see as being like Sunderland's key player by the end of the season? Who's going to be the one that you think we all go, yeah, you know what, fair play, he did well?
Xhaka. I'm honestly surprised. I wouldn't have been surprised if everyone said the same thing, but you could see even from yesterday, from always what Pete's saying, you could obviously hear him there. And when I was watching it on a perfectly legitimate stream, it was you could see that he was just talking the whole time, celebrating the goal, and he was chatting people, and just you could see he's just an absolute general. He knows how he's obviously the standards that he's bringing with him. You can kind of see that already, because when he opens his mouth, no one's running away or taking no notice. Everyone's just interested in what he's got to say because he can bring so much. Just even if he's not playing, because put my neck on the line, he'll probably get a suspension or two.
Yeah,
in the season. But whoever's going to come in for him, obviously there's going to be they won't be able to play the same way as him. But the experience he's got and what he's bringing is just, I don't think we can overstate it at all. Like how important he's going to be for us this season.
Me and you are of a certain vintage, not quite the vintage of Pete, but maybe the same as like me, you and Dave. Maybe the Sophie aside, the young, good-looking versions of men on this podcast. I remember there's a lot of chat. Rob Mason was talking about yesterday, actually, at that event at the fire station, talking about, I want a big Steve Bold-esque centre half, and there's a certain amount of people that would understand what he means by that. But the Xhaka signing, I think Brad, obviously formerly of What the Folk fame and occasionally on the WTF podcast these days, he went, oh, that feels like a Stefan Schwartz signing. And like me and you remember exactly that era. He feels like I love Sunderland. I think the best club in the world, but it's fair to say Xhaka has played for a few clubs that you could consider bigger than Sunderland and been really successful. Same as Stefan Schwartz. It feels like I mean, they both came from Arsenal. I can't even think about that actually. Not directly from Arsenal, but played for them previously. But it feels like a Stefan Schwartz signing where you went, that's a step up, that's a standard, and it feels like he's setting those standards already, doesn't it? Even in pre-season games.
Yeah, I mean, the team that Xhaka has just come from a couple of seasons ago didn't lose. They lost in the final of the Europa League, and that was the only game they lost all season. And they're in a league with Bayern Munich, who always win the league. So he's got something. Obviously, the character of the man as well. After what he went through at Arsenal, when I think it was against Crystal Palace, when he got taken off and was given it was getting pelters from the crowd, took his shirt off through it, to come back from that to be like a massive, massive part of what Arteta was doing there. Like, I think he can't do. It's going to do us absolutely no harm at all. Like it's just positives from signing him. Don't care how old he is. He's just going to be massive, like gigantic.
Yeah, he just feels like an enormous signing that.
Yeah.
Kind of. I think I said to Phil Smith at the time, who's like he's on the buzzer with stuff, and I was like, feels like a pie in the sky signing, and he was like, he went, I don't know, like obviously there's interest, but that's a really hard one to pull off because he's really, really fucking good at football, and it's like you see him and like, I mean, also pointed out this morning, maybe we've got a free kick taker there as well, which is fantastic. But Pete, I'll give you the next one. Are we going Xhaka-tastic? Xhaka-tastic.
Well, before you get to
Oh,
the question, if I can, just to say, just so we don't go back on the Xhaka stuff, because I do feel that since I cocked up his interview, I should put across some of the stuff that Ian from the German Black Cats told me yesterday about Xhaka, because though from Siam, he's a Borussia Mönchengladbach fan, which is also one of the funnest names of a football club ever to say. And Xhaka was there when he first came to Germany, and he described them. His exact words were Lee Catamol on speed, that he would just kick everything that moved and he would lose his head every now and again, and he red cards galore. But you could see this quality player that was there. Over the years, he's refined that anger, focused it where it needs to be, and turned into the player that he is. And, I mean, Ian was as excited as you could be for anybody for a player. And he's somebody who's watched him play and seen his career develop since he was quite a raw talent. So I've got no reason to doubt him. Certainly not off what I saw yesterday. I think Granit Xhaka is a phenomenal addition to the squad. I think he would be a phenomenal addition to any Premier League team. Apart from a couple, there's very few that I could think of that he wouldn't be able to play a part.
I actually agree with that. I don't think there's many clubs that wouldn't benefit from maybe the higher up clubs, and he would be more squad based. But like, I mean, just like when you watch him in the preseason games, and I know preseason isn't the barometer of like what this it's going to be like next season, but you just see stuff that like I don't think I've seen a midfielder at Sunderland for at least 10 years. It's spotted for a long while, but yeah, the Stefan Schwartz signing 110%. But I'm assuming Pete, you're going to go with Xhaka is going to be our key player, or have you got a kind of another?
Well, Xhaka was initially going to be the one, but what I would say, and it gets an honourable. So there was once I realised Xhaka had gone, I thought Diarra, based on what I saw yesterday. But who I am going to mention, and he might not even play. It depends how many they sign, because they do need to sign centre halves. But every single Augsburg fan who wanted to talk about the football aspect of the match yesterday and how things had gone, and not so much we haven't all having a lovely time in the sun, talked about Dan Ballard, who is your number 5. Why do we not know about him? He's one of the best. They've spent the last 5 years in the Bundesliga, so they have spent 5 years of all the players that have come through there. But he's one of the best centre halves we've seen come through here in recent times. Like, how much did you get him for? It must have been millions. Like, no, not really, not at all. So I'm going to go Dan Ballard to actually cement himself, have a full season without injury, and really step up.
Mine's Patrick Roberts, so we'll move on. Sophie, who's yours?
I'm gonna go a bit rogue because Granit Xhaka, amazing. I'm gonna go Roths, keeper, because I just think that your keeper's going to be so important this season.
We love him. He's so sexy. He's so strong.
You know what? I just think that having a keeper that comes for crosses. So that is, you know what? That's when you should have said that, Pete, actually. After I said he comes for crosses.
Oh, I love him. He's so strong.
I'm sat in a service station somewhere in the middle of Thuringia. This is going to sound mental to anybody that comes by. But anyway, you just keep telling me, Sophie. You cue me, I'll just keep doing them.
No, Roth, I just think that presence, I just think he's got it in terms of commanding area, distribution. He looks really comfortable with the ball at his feet, which I'm not a fan of playing out from the back anyway, but that's just modern football, unfortunately. I just think that he's going to be really integral. Obviously, Powell could fight for his place, and I could say this, and Ruffs be atrocious, and Powell comes in and saves the day. But yeah, I just think a keeper's going to be so important.
He's looked decent. I agree with you on that, and I think the biggest thing I took from him signing, obviously everyone says nice things when the players sign, unless you're like signing Mark Wilson in the Championship because you've just got relegated in your skin. But I think a lot of the time you get people saying positive stuff, and Nijmegen were obviously very positive about him and the work he put in to get to the point he was at. But it was Van der Sar came out and was like, I'm really surprised Ajax didn't sign him. And I mean, I know Ajax are not the kind of like giants that they were in 1995 or the 70s and the 80s, but like he was like, well, he's obviously the Netherlands' next goalkeeper. why haven't Ajax looked at him? Like, and he kind of went a bit more in depth, and he was saying how much he rated him. But again, look, pre-season you can never judge anything, and the Hamir example is obviously a big one, but you can also judge some things from it. And he looks calm, and I go back to I remember Thomas Sorensen, and like this, I feel like this is bad saying this towards Pato because he's so much better than Lionel Perez was. But Lionel Perez was like a likable, stupid goalkeeper that just couldn't come for crosses. And I remember my uncle yours used to say like this really terrible, cliche, cringy line, but it still made me laugh because I was like 11. He used to go, "Oh, he's like a vampire, scared of crosses," and it just stuck in my head. And then for those of a certain vintage, you'll remember the 1998 playoff final. If Lionel Perez doesn't come out and just get absolutely clouded out by everyone, Richard Rufus doesn't head in the back of the net, and we go up that season, look, it all worked out, it's fine. But the point I'm trying to make was like I never felt comfortable with Perez. He was like reaction saves, and oh man, I love Pato, and like I'll always be a big fan of Pato because he's played such a big role in like the two promotions and make massive saves in both finals, massive saves. And if Pato goes on to kind of be the number one and prove me wrong, yet again, brilliant. Go for it, Pato. Hope so. But I just feel Pato's ceiling's kind of been hit with Sunderland, and I feel if I'm taking off my rose-tinted glasses about how good of a playoff campaign he had, there was a part of me that was feeling that a lot around March, April time, and it was because of crosses and the whole game at home and all that kind of stuff. So when I see Roofs coming out and just going, my ball, got it, mine, and then you see he's quite good at passing the ball up from the back, yeah, I'll be honest, he's a player that's probably not been spoken about enough yet, maybe a little bit more yesterday because of his penalty save, which was also very, very good. But yeah, I kind of feel like that as well. So outside of Patrick Roberts, who's obviously going to be our best player all season because he is the best player that's ever existed, I believe that Roofs could be a really good shout, if not Saint Xhaka. But we all know it's probably going to be Granit Xhaka come what may. I'll come back to you, Pete. I feel like I've lost the order completely here, so I'm just going to say names and just remind me if you've said this.
Let's do
Who
it.
do
You
you
weren't
think?
doing this last night when you were with your fancy friends on stage, like Kevin Phillips. I'm going to come to you whenever I come to you. Oh, Danny Collins, be my friend.
No, it was just Gareth
Oh,
Barker
God.
from Wise Men Say It, to be
Oh,
honest.
Gareth Parker for
That was
Wiseman.
that was the star of the night. He was yeah. If you were there, very funny. If you like dry sense of humor, Gareth will do a good stand up. If you're looking at a surprise package, now I don't know what a surprise package would be because like the players that are in the team that got us promoted, we're all big fans of, and the players that are coming in, we don't know enough about properly yet. I suppose until we've seen stuff. But who's the player that you think is going to step up when maybe people not wouldn't expect them to, but it wouldn't be the first name on your lips?
Well, I might have balls that up by going with Dan Ballard in my previous one because I think he fits that better. So I'll just think of somebody off the top of my head.
I think people are confident Ballard will step up
Yeah, I
now.
mean that's the thing is also I'm fairly it wouldn't be down as it'll be a surprise he'll make the step up. Similarly about Chris Rigg because I've got absolute confidence that you could put that boy into a Champions League game tomorrow and he might not shine but he wouldn't look out of place. I am going to go with who do I think is going to make a step up? I mean it is Eliza Mayenda really because I think he does get quite unfairly maligned. He does also miss some things that he's going to have to start scoring if he's going to be a Premier League centre forward starting in a team that it will comfortably finish mid-table. But I'm going to go Eliza Mayenda. I think he's going to make that step up. I think his pace alone is going to absolutely terrify defenders. I think the fact that he is almost certainly going to start alongside what's he called, Adrenga, whose pace is also going to put the fear of God into defenders. So if he can drift himself a little bit towards either flank, they're going to be because they're going to have to double up on Adrenga to keep you through his pace, or they're going to have to put somebody who is incredibly fast on him, or he's going to crucify defenses. So that to have two, and Talby's no slouch running at them, I think Mayenda's going to pick up some goals. Like so, there we go.
I'm kind of on a similar vein to you, like, but I'm gonna go with Wilson. I feel like
So
naturally there's been a lot of chat with
I
Mayenda
love
because
I love Wilson so much. I
yeah,
really
me too.
want to do it. I really want it to be him, but I think it'll be Mayenda. But okay.
But I do think Mayenda will start the season, but because I think mainly you look at Wilson's not really played much pre-season because of his injury, but I feel like we've maybe slept on Wilson a bit. Like he scored a lot of goals last season, then Mayenda came in and was like the cult hero. Like that's just how football works, and it's not a problem. I think both people like love them both, but Wilson was also like a cult hero, but also like what's that saying? I don't know if I agree with it. He's not a scorer of goals. He's a scorer of great goals. Or he's a scorer of great goals, not a goal scorer or something like
Scorer
that.
of great goals, not a great goal scorer. Yeah.
That's the one.
And but for
When,
Wilson, of course, I'll always have me and Wilson will always have that night in Shanghai in my mother-in-law's living room when he scored against Borough and put his top on a flag on the corner post and dancing around in the middle of the night, screaming silently to myself.
That's the thing. I think if you look at Wilson, though, the times when he's getting into space, he runs in that, like the Sheffield United goal, the Coventry goal in the playoffs, the Middlesbrough goal, which is actually a difficult goal because he's got so much time to think about it. Wilson's a bit more instinctive than I think people give him credit for, and I think because he's missed a couple of like sitters at a couple of times, but 15 goals was a good return considering he did make his debut till I think it was like mid to late September. So a really good return that. Bearing in mind that, my ender started getting ahead of him towards the end and started ahead of him in the playoff final. I think Wilson's got an ability to step up. And I'm not saying he's going to score 15, 20 goals. I don't think that's going to be the case. But I think he's going to score a really important 6 to 7. That's going to be really pivotal. And they're going to be big, important goals, like a 1-0 win away at Brentford. I'm just making these up. A 1-0 win away, like a Burnley, something like that. When you really, like, and I know the fan base doesn't like him, and I get why, but like Chopper's 6 goals the season we went up under Roy Keane were absolutely massive. Like Villa away, the little chip, like he actually, and he probably pains him that he did that, but he actually did a hell of a lot for us to kind of stabilise us in that league. But everyone remembers Kenwyne Jones because of how fucking class he was in that first season before David James ruined his knee. But like having a striker that can score you 5, 6, 7 goals just added on top of other stuff will be absolutely crucial. And I think Wilson will surprise people with that. Dave, I feel like I haven't spoke to you for ages, mate. Liverpool's probably getting beaten now, whether. Who's your surprise package for the season?
No, the 2-1 up, to be fair. My surprise package, is it going to be a surprise? Probably not to everyone who knows us. And go back, what, 5, 6 year, 7 year? And I'd have laughed at you. I'd have absolutely laughed at you if you'd have told me that he would ever become a Premier League footballer. But I just can't not mention him because through his mindset, you just know that he's going to be important in some way, shape, or form this season. And it's got to be Luke O'Nien. I just genuinely think he will play some part. He will. He'll actually look like a footballer. And if you'd have told me that when we first signed him from Wickham, I'd have absolutely laughed at you, especially after his debut, in which he's openly admitted himself. Just shows you what you can kind of get out of football if you put everything in. Bless him. And I'm really keen to see how he gets on and where he plays and what he does. But I've no doubt that he'll step up. No doubt whatsoever.
I'm shocked you didn't say. I was expecting you to say Timothy Pembele there, but here we are. Shock horror. You said Luke O'Nien instead. It kind of, that's the one thing, by the way. These surprise packages, you're allowed to say Rusin, Amir. If you're allowed to go really stupid and rogue and just make it like a comedy podcast. But no, look, I'm long past the point of doubting Luke O'Nien. I think he'll struggle a bit. Am I worried about VAR? Yeah, probably, if I'm completely honest. But I just think Luke O'Nien, for me, and I know people disagree, I think he's a legend. I think in my lifetime, certainly, and I know there's bigger legends, but in my lifetime, he would get in the top 10 in terms of that status, probably. He'd get probably fairly near the top as well. So I'm long past the point of debating whether Luke will step up or not. I just allow him to do it because he keeps doing it. I can't remember who else I've asked, so I'll go with Ian. Ian, I don't think I've asked you this ever, a surprise package. Have you ever had a surprise package?
Yeah, generally on my birthday, my mate always leaves some kind of object on my doorstep from a random celebrity.
Like a poo in your kettle?
No, like I had just a single hot dog from Barry from EastEnders written on it in biro. Permanent marker rather, because writing a biro on a hot dog would be really difficult. But yeah. So yes, I've met many surprise packages. I'm going, which to be fair, I don't know if it'd be classed as a surprise package, but I think Noah Siddiqui as a whole, not just within the football club, but sort of across the league. I think he'll come off as a bit of a surprise package because he just seems to be everywhere all at once. So I think from what I can see, he's playing on the sort of well, I've seen him more on the left, but I've seen him on the right as well. I think, and it's always he doing what Job did, where he would be the one that would be linking up with Mundell and Serkin and playing in those triangles. But then I've seen him closing down their left back, and I'm just like, well, what is he just going to be given a free rein to just break up play and just be a general nuisance? And I just think of all of them, I know Diarra has obviously come with a bit more fanfare behind him, and Granit Xhaka, we all knew what was coming with that. It's a bit of to be fair, that both of them, Diarra and Siddiqui, are both a bit of an unknown quantity. But Diarra's obviously got the Senegal are a more sort of, Senegal are a team that you're a bit more familiar with. And obviously they played England a few months ago, but with Siddiqui, nobody really knows anything about him, but he's the one that's really, really stood out to us in pre-season. It would have been between him and another player I won't mention in case someone else has picked him. I doubt they would have, though. But I just think that he's just going to be in games where we're not going to have a lot of the ball and we need somebody just to disrupt them. I think he looks like he's going to be the answer to potentially a lot of questions that we might have of ourselves, especially in the midfield.
It's funny because the only game I went to, I've watched quite a few of them, but the only game I went to was Hearts, and he was absolutely shite in that. But like, it's the only game where he was poor, and like I think it was just look they were nailing him from straight. Oh, like we've discussed it at length. Hearts are we're 4 games ahead, and like I don't know how many people watch Scottish football, but Derek McInnes's teams will always push high and kick shit out of you. And if you're going to beat a Derek McInnes team, you're going to have to work hard. And that day, I think we were just a bit like, hang on, lads, it's a testimonial. Just give us a minute. And then we lost. Sophie, there's quite a few that you could really, if you want to go really rogue and go Rusyn, that would be great. But look, I don't think that's going to happen. Although if it does, that would be
the great redemption of Abdullah Bar.
Jesus Christ, forgot he was even here. No,
I'll drive him to the airport myself. But I don't think this is a surprise, but mine would have been Wilson, because I agree with everything you said about Wilson. I think physicality wise, I think he's really suited to the Premier League. But I don't know if it's a surprise. I think Riggy will adapt really well to the Premier League. And this is really bad, but I have thought about it a lot. Imagine if he has a really good season. And you can imagine all the clubs will be sniffing around him how much money that would actually get for Riggy. If he has a good season this season, and I used an example of when Jack Grealish left Villa, and he left for a considerable amount of money, probably more than what he was worth at that time. But then that transformed Villa, that money, and then it went back in, and they went really high and stuff. I've thought about that a lot, but I do think that Riggy is, and Trey Hume as well, I think they'll adapt really well.
Yeah, I've got no qualms about Trey, and maybe that'll come back a bite in the arse. But Trey, I couldn't even class Trey as someone who I think is going to be a surprise. I think people are just expecting that he's going to be the Trey we know and love. We've gone on a bit because we do that, Pete. So I've ruined you in this. I'm so sorry, mate. I don't know why you're the new...
It's all right. I am fully aware that
you are Kevin Kilban. Basically, I'm going to give you abuse no matter what.
I know, but I'll happily be Kevin Kilban.
Will you?
What a career he had, man!
Not here.
Republic of Ireland international. He got to play in all of those great tournaments. He was there in '90, as well. He was in the Republic of Ireland squad in '90.
No, he wasn't.
Certainly, I'm sure he was. He was there in '90.
No, nah, I'm not having that.
Hang on, come back to us.
Yeah, I'll come back. I'll do the research because that's what I should be doing anyway. You do the chat.
Yeah. How do you spell Kilban?
He was only 13, Pete, so he wasn't.
No, okay. Yeah, I was good. As I was saying it, I was like, hang on, he played in the 2000s. He absolutely 77. No, he could definitely.
He also had dreams of playing for England at that point because he's born in Preston.
You can be born in England and have dreams of playing for Ireland, Graham.
I don't think so. Declan Rice said no.
Declan, what did you do? Anyway,
Jack Grealish.
Right. Anyway, I still think Kevin Kilban had a good career. I will stand by that.
What was the point you were making before that?
I remember. Yeah, I said I'm just happy to be here, I think.
Oh yeah, no, I was talking about giving you grief, and I said because we've got.
Oh yeah, you were
There
giving
we
us
go.
grief,
I'm
and I
back.
said, you said I was like,
We're back in the room.
I said I was happy. There we go. You didn't lose me. You lost me for that, but you didn't lose me for the Ukrainian truck driver that was having a wee next to me car in this start.
No.
Yeah.
Right, Pete, I'll take with you.
Yeah, come on.
So let's have three random ones. Who wins the league? Who's going down? And who's going to be the league top goal scorer?
Liverpool win the league without a shadow of a doubt. Isak goes to them, and he's the league top scorer. And who goes down is a more difficult question. I think Burnley go down. I think Leeds and Brentford.
Oh, Leeds, do you think?
Leeds will go down. I think they're good. They're a very good side. They were a better side than Sunderland last year, but I think this Sunderland team is a very different entity than the one it was last year. I don't think they've recruited as well either. I honestly haven't looked that strongly into who they've recruited, but from what I've seen about them, I fancy them to go down. I can't think of anybody unless, well, because there are the teams that could slip into it. I mean, you could even get your Fulham slipping into it a little bit. What do you mean slipping? You're laughing at
Yeah, I'm sorry.
you laughing at slipping. You are. Oh. In my day job, I'm quite a respected broadcaster.
Me too.
Darling, are we back with us? Okay, 1, 2, 3, back in the room. Right, there we go. I think somebody like a Fulham could possibly slip into it. I think even somebody like a West Ham in the wrong vein of form. The problem I am finding though is I just think there's so many strong teams in that league.
Yeah.
It's going to. I don't think Sunderland will go down, but I think it's going to be a hell of a struggle because if Sunderland don't go down, somebody who's been in that league for a while, somebody who would think of themselves right now as an established Premier League team, will have to go down.
Yeah. I mean, I actually think Leeds will do all right. They've recruited. I can't say well or badly because I don't know enough about the players, but from looking at them, they've recruited will look like energetic big bastards. And I feel like might help my actual concern. And I actually don't mind him as a bloke. I mean, I don't know him, I've never met him, but he comes across quite well, I think. But I'm just not sure whether Farke's like. I'm just not sure. And I know there'll be Leeds fans listening and saying, "Well, how are you sure about Reggie Slibreeze?" But Reggie's is a bit of an unknown quantity in this level, whereas.
But if Farke's going for a return to absolute shithouse Leeds, I'll be on side with that. I'd love a bit of that.
I tell you, what would have been my unpopular Premier League opinion? I don't have any massive hatred for Leeds. I think they're a really well supported, massive football club that are better than a lot of other clubs.
I've had a lot of good times at Leeds, going as a fan, and yeah, a couple of times with the hospitality bit where we've met some of the old lads. They've always been very nice to us whenever I've been there, and got some family live around that way. One of my cousins is nominally a Leeds fan. Still tolerate them.
No real issue with them. Dave, I'll check it back to you. This one. Who wins the league? Who's the top goal scorer? And who's the three that go down?
Liverpool win the league.
Yeah.
Ekatike looks a real handful from what I've seen, and with the quality that he's got behind him. This is, of course, dependent if Isak goes or doesn't go. But yeah, I'll go with Ekatike. And then going down, Burnley for definite. Really sorry to the blue part of Merseyside, but I think Everton go.
No, for the first time ever.
Yeah, horrible for two reasons. One, we all know the reason why. That miserable bastard. I'm sorry. I really hope you don't edit that out because he's just a fucking idiot.
We'll leave it.
And also, I actually think the new stadium then becomes a hindrance. I think, do you know what I mean? Like the whole West Ham thing and Upton Park, I can just see that being a negative. And also, they've had he's even done a Moyes earlier than what he did a Moyes with us.
Yeah.
At least he waited until the first league game. He sent in a fucking pre-season game this year. Oh, we're in for a real struggle. Why don't you just go and ask the board if you can have some money? Because that's what you're trying to get at. But you've got 40,000 people on your back now saying, well, you don't believe we're going to stay up. Tosser. I love him. Love him.
These are the views of me in private, but I can't say that the views of WTF Sunderland podcast in public. They're Dave's.
And finally, I'm going to go Brentford as well.
Yeah.
I think that's my three. Brentford. I think it's just going to be a struggle for them. Kind of Norgard's gone. Visser saying he's never playing for them again. I don't think they've strengthened much, and in actual fact, they've weakened themselves a little bit. Thomas Frank going as well will be massive. I don't even who's gone in Brent. Who's in charge of Brentford?
It's Keith Andrews, mate.
Oh, of course it is.
The free kick specialist. Well, free kick. What was he? A free kick coach?
Yeah, he was when he set piece specialist. That was it, though. Let's really let's. I wonder if Sky Bet will take that bet.
Look, it might go. Like I was talking about the Guardian article before, and I think there was like 13 of the 20 clubs said Keith Andrews would be the first manager sacked. Like for him, like I quite like Brentford being in the Premier League. Like so, as long as it doesn't disadvantage Sunderland, I hope he does well. But I think it's risky, man. Especially when you're losing like Mbeumo and potentially Visa as well, and Norgard's gone as well. So yeah, look, I find that hard to say anything different. And I think there'll be so many people feeling the same way. I do think that Sunderland will stay up. The final question is obviously going to be where we finish, so I won't say where yet. But I feel like Burnley, yeah. I feel like Burnley will be the team that finishes bottom. And I know Burnley fans won't like hearing that, but look, tough. I mean, it's just an opinion. It's just a prediction, and it doesn't really matter. Second bottom. See, I do think Brentford will go, but I think it'll be like in 18th. I actually think this might be a season where you see two clubs that have been like what people class as established, as in like Brentford, and I think Wolves. I don't know why. I just feel like Brentford, Brighton, Wolves, they're all going to have one season where like they just wobble a bit too much. And obviously I'm not going to say Sunderland go down because that would be stupid of me to do. So I think Leeds will be okay as well. I think what we've seen over the past few years in the Premier League of the three promoted going straight down is going to change this year. Because I also think, and this is going to pay off some other fans as well, but I think it's been proven in the signings that both us and Leeds have made. I think Sunderland and Leeds are probably the two biggest clubs that have gone up for a long, long time. And I think that enables you to attract better players. Like, and look, just to show I'm not like being completely biased, and people won't like me saying this, when Newcastle went up, they were clearly a bigger club than some other clubs that go up, and that enables them to attract other players that are bigger and better, which they did, and they stayed up and they were comfortable and it was fine. I'm not saying I think we'll finish in Europe. I'm dusting off the passport, just on the off chance. But I think we'll be okay, whereas I think Burnley won't be. I think Leeds will also be alright. And I think you're going to get two of those teams that everyone sort of phones over, like your Brentfords and how well they've done recruiting, because they've lost their players, because they've lost their manager. They've had that summer where like they were maybe anticipating it would come at some point, and that's really hard to respond from. If they do, they do. Never had an issue with Brentford fans. Like the stadium looks a bit Lego-y, but it's very modern and nice. And if it's just like go down, it is what it is. But like that's just my prediction. But Sophie, I'll give the same question to you because I'm rambling a bit. Top scorer, who wins the league, and who's the three that go down?
Liverpool win the league.
Yeah,
too strong. Top goal scorer, I'm going to say Haaland.
I'll agree on that. I was going to say Haaland. Yeah,
I just think he's going to have a better season than what he has done previously. I think they're stronger this year as well. And then the three that go down, I'm saying the same as you. I'm saying Burnley, I'm saying Brentford, I'm saying Wolves. I think because Brentford are getting torn apart. They just are. And, the stability part of their journey has gone in Thomas Frank. And Wolves, we've seen it before. You flirt with relegation year in, year out. One of the times, you're just going to fall through the trapdoor. And I just think that they don't have enough to get over the line. I think Leeds do, and I think that we do. So yeah, that's my three.
Me and Sophie, clearly the most intelligent two football brainiacs. Brainiacs? Well, I've just fucked that entire thing I've just said there, haven't I? Because it's not a word. Ian, I'll let you have the next one. Who wins the league? Or should I just say like who's going to get relegated? Because I think we're all going to say the same for who wins the league.
Yeah, Liverpool will win the league. I don't think it's going to be close. I don't think there's going to be much of a fight at the top end of the table. Outside of them, it's going to be Liverpool and then everybody else. Going down, it's quite funny. I watched a video on YouTube yesterday where this guy got a fan of every club and then had marks 1 to 20 in like an arc on the floor. And they said, you go and stand where you think your club's going to finish. And the Burnley fan just walks to 20th. And then there was a gap of 3 places where nobody stood. And then there was just a crowd of people. And I was like, even the Burnley fans just resigned to it. Like everything that they did last year was built on the defence. And Egan Riley's gone. Trafford's gone. I'm pretty sure Josh Brownhill's been released as well.
Yeah, no, he
got all. So they've got rid of.
He scored 18 goals last season, by the way, Josh Brownhill from midfield. Yeah. That's a hell of a fucking lot of goals to lose.
Yeah, and how many assists as well? So they've got rid of the top goal scorer. They haven't got any strikers. They've got rid of one half of the centre half pairing that got them there, and the keeper's obviously made the right decision and gone to a big club. As far as Brentford, I'm in the same. I mean, it's Sophie at the nail on the head saying that Tom. I don't think people appreciate how important Thomas Frank's been for them. He's sort of started the journey and got them there, and him going, and then the 2 main men going as well, and then bringing in a bit of an unknown, Keith Andrews. I mean, he was all right when he was doing punditry on League One when we were down there, but to have him step up and try and rebuild the. I'll just shut my window because next door started mowing the lawn. I'm sorry. To have to essentially rebuild what was an established core of the team, like that spine, is just going to. I think it's just going to be too much for them. And as far as the third one, I had Wolves and Fulham written down. I'm not sure which one. Fulham haven't done a great deal of business. I'm probably leaning. Wolves have done a bit, and Strand Larsen coming in is probably big for them because he will get goals. I think he scored 14 or 15 goals last season, which sometimes is enough. It showed with us with Defoe when he got those goals for us and kept us up with Allardyce. One of those two, Wolves or Fulham, will get dragged into it because Fulham have signed nobody, and Mo Salah's going to be top goal scorer.
Yeah, so I said Haaland, but Salah was my other option as well. I just think it's probably quite predictable in terms of the players that you know are going to turn up. You look at City last season, everyone's like, oh, City wobbled, and they're still finishing like well behind where they wanted to be, but they still finished quite well. I also feel like Chelsea might come quite good this season. I'm not going to lie, I've been quite impressed, and so all of a sudden that kind of model that they all had of signing young players on ridiculously long contracts that everyone pointed the fingers at and laughed at, it's starting to pay a bit of dividends. And I'm like, oh, it's like Sunderland on steroids, that. Well, Sunderland from a few years ago, we're now obviously an ambitious project. I've got 2 more, so quick fire. I don't need any reasons behind it. Pete, where does Sunderland finish this season?
14th.
Yeah.
Can I point out one thing that I've messed up earlier on? Kevin Kilban's performance in a major tournament was the 2002 World Cup under Mick McCarthy, where he played very well, but missed a penalty in the first knockout round. One of the missed penalties alongside David Connolly that saw them knocked out against Spain. So that was 2002, not 10 years or so earlier. Anyway, they finished 14th, mate, this year.
The clear point you're making about Kevin Kilban is that he did well, but then missed a penalty. Ho-hum. Dave. Nothing against Kevin Kilban, by the way. If you want to come on the podcast, you can. Dave,
please, Kevin, I've got some questions for you.
Yeah, I've got loads. Dave, where do we finish?
I know you don't want any reasons, but I can't help myself.
I know.
I think we are one big name centre-half signing from doing a Reedy and finishing inside the top 10. I know we don't have Brad anymore, so
that's a Brad opinion.
Yeah, exactly. Someone has to be ridiculous. But I genuinely think KLD has kind of like sold this project of he wants to be in the Conference League within 5 years maximum. I'm not saying we're going to be anywhere near that, but I genuinely, if we snuck into 10th position, I think our midfield's great. Forwards have got to step up a little bit. But yeah, a really good centre half signing from finishing inside the top 10. That's my wild prediction.
Jesus. Oh, David. Sophie, I'll let you temper expectations, mate. No pressure.
15. 15.
Yeah, I'm 15th as well. For the record, I'll just stick with. I've agreed with a lot of stuff, Sophie, to be fair, but yeah, I think 15. Who else have I not asked? Ian?
I was going to say 15th as well. I think 17th is just not going to cut it for me. I think we've got a bit. We're a couple of centre halves away from being like, yeah, we'll be fine. And
Yeah.
I think that we're gonna lose games. We're not going to win every week. Do you know what I mean? And that's fine. I'm not expecting us to, but I think we'll be pretty comfortable by the last day of the season. We won't have anything to worry about last day. We'll be all right.
That's a dream, innit? And then build from there. I've got one more question, and I just need a yes or no answer. Again, there's no reasoning behind this. I'm splitting the Premier League into two separate parts, the North and the South. The South being Bournemouth, Arsenal, Aston Villa, Brentford, Brighton, Chelsea, Crystal Palace, Fulham, Nottingham Forest, Tottenham Hotspur, West Ham United, Wolverhampton Wanderers. The North being Burnley, Everton, Leeds United, Liverpool, Man City, Man United, them lot, and us. If they were to have a fight, bearing in mind that the North has got significantly less, Pete, who would win the fight between the North and the South of the Premier League?
North.
One reason why, actually.
Granit Xhaka.
Fair play. Dave, the North and the South have a fight. The North are outnumbered by a couple of clubs, but who wins?
North, because Newcastle there and they can beat up animals, so they're not going to have a problem with humans, are they?
That's getting left in. Oh, that was quite good. That's a good reason. If anyone wants to know the reason behind it, 3-0, David Vaughan, horse. Yeah, there we go. I still find it really funny when I watched that lad's interview back and interviewed his wife, who was from Portugal, and she was like, oh, I've seen it. And I went, oh, what's he done? It's like, that was your reaction? Sophie, the North versus the South, and there's only one winner, and who wins it and why?
North. Easy. And I don't think we're actually outnumbered because Man United and Liverpool fans, most of them from the South. So, are we really outnumbered?
You could, in reality, if you think about it that way, you'd be able to, like, I can't think of the word here, but you'd ambush them.
Yeah, surprise attack.
Yeah, you'd be like, oh, here's the North coming in. You'd be like, aha, we have the North and the South. Here's loads of them. And I also think, I know this has been done on a comedy sketch, but I think, like, we've just got harder places. Like, Heaven versus, like, Tunbridge Wells is just going to, like, Heaven's going to win that. Like, that's
Absolutely.
just going to happen. Like,
Yeah.
I know there's areas of London that are pretty tough and could put up a decent fight. But I reckon
versus Chip and Norton doesn't really,
yeah.
We've
Like-
got County Durham as well. Like, we've got Bish, we've got Shildon, got Eldon, we've got Aycliffe.
Chilton, Ferry Hill, Coundon, Leholm.
There are
Sarah?
places around Washington that are worse than war zones that I've been in.
Blackwell.
And I mean that in the nicest possible way. And also, like, when you go past around South Hetton, there are bits where I'm driving back when I'm back at home and I'm like, oh shit, this is pretty rough.
Kevin
I don't know about
Phillips.
leaving that in. I have to go back. I'm going back to see me mum very shortly.
Kevin Phillips described the first time he ended up in Sunderland, which was at Roker Park. He described the area around Roker Park as just a bit like Coronation Street. And I kind of got it. But the point I would like to make is Jarrah versus Cockfosters. There's only one winner out of that, isn't there? Like, who else have I not asked? Ian, I think that's clear where we're going here, but like
North.
the reason... Yes, North.
Two reasons. Pete already gave my reason. I was going to say exactly the same thing, but also we serve gravy with chips. They don't, so fuck them.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Can
Good
I
luck me
also
trying to get a
point out
Brentford guest.
that Aston Villa are not happy with you putting them in the South, so they're rebelling and joining us anyway. They're fucking
I was
fuming.
thinking about Forest being in the south. I thought that might be controversial.
Yeah, it is probably, but here's the thing, right? If there's going to be any kind of battle of any sort, like the South need Birmingham and Forest, because if you just take them out completely, it's knackered. It's not even a question.
Or
So
great.
you
Or
kind of
you
got to
ju-
give them a bit.
Or are you just another British man drawing lines in a map without thoughts about what the consequences will be further down the line, creating
Yes.
ethnic tensions on a border between North and South that will spew over for generations?
Let's all go before things go really, really south.
I've got
Thanks
a
for joining, everyone.
3-hour
Enjoy the Premier
drive
League.
left yet. All right. Thanks, everybody.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Aye.